thing that keeps you up at night. The evil that haunts every dark corner of your mind. I will never rest.
They scream and they cry. This is your day now. When the earth starts to settle, God throws a stone at it.
Just so we're clear, after I kill you, I'm going to kill them. And then I'm going to kill your father. I always win.
Galactus.
Amazing. So back in the 50s, the issue opens up with Jay trying to get the attention of Joan, but she's not interested, all because he sucks at football. In her words, she even says, "A man of your build and brains could be a star." Both tridents hurt. Oh no, whatever shall we do? Haha. And then in comes the super speedster just to ruin the game for the rest of the guys who've trained for like 16 years of their life to get there. And I love how happy he is too at this moment. Like, he's clearly been waiting for this his entire life. Like, he just flies through touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. One guy on the other team has the right idea. He straight up quits. And the game ends being 65-30. I mean, save some action for the rest of us, Jay. We warmed up for like 2 hours, come on. Number 9, super kids. Nothing beats a family outing. Either that means a trip to the movies or battling monsters with your super kids. That's right, once Wally West and his family returned from a fun little Speed Force trip, his kids had powers. How fun. Now, being so young, there's the Incredibles type question. Should they be allowed to be superheroes? Well, in The Flash Volume 2, issue 233, Wally comes up with the mindset that speedsters age differently. And sometimes it's hard to understand how much longer they have to live. So Wally thinks it's best to let them do what they want because YOLO, am I right? And it's a pretty cute issue. Like, the kids are eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, trying to fuel up for the fight. In the first few pages, Iris even admits that she stole the sandwich from a fat kid, so everybody wins. Those were her words, not mine. God, I should add another point to this list just for that line. What a savage. Number 8, the loop of life. Everybody has that one memory they wish they could just delete from their brain. Like, maybe you were late for work and then you spilled your coffee all over your lovely flannel shirt. Now, what if you had to relive that nightmare over and over, Groundhog Day style? Well, that's what happens to Zoom. In Flash issue 200, Wally West uses his powers to defeat him, but he freezes him and makes him repeat the worst day of his life over and over and over again. Now, this is why I want to be a speedster. This issue right here. I would love to do this. I would just make everybody chill out in their favorite memory and just kind of lay low. Maybe a couple I'd put in some embarrassing memories, you know? Of course, I mean, I'm a human. Like, he looks like he's in so much pain. You could just tell by the dramatic one teardrop. This is literal hell that he's in. He just sits and repeats the line, "He doesn't have a gun, trust me, Ashley," over and over. Poor Hunter Zolomon. I mean, he's not the best guy in the world, but you can't help for feeling somewhat bad. I mean, he's a human. And number 7, more mind games. Yes, of course, we go back to that same issue, Flash 200, where he puts forth this amazing plan to mess with everybody's mind. So now at this point, the Flash thinks, you know what, it's probably best if everybody just forgets who he is. Not too bad of an idea. So he gets some help from the Spectre and Hal Jordan. They talk it out, and Wally figures if he mind wipes everybody, all will be good. Bang bang, boom. Well, Wally ends up forgetting who the Flash is as well, for a short amount of time. So with everybody not knowing about the Flash causes the opposite reaction. There's more crime. No speedsters in the way. Heh, let's go rob some shit. And number 6, death is cool. Flash Comics issue 1, this time it's in the shape of Jay Garrick. So Flash decides it's a smart idea to go and attack a group of villains. Now at this point it's early in the comics and he's just now buckling down with the responsibilities of his new powers. So he goes, I'll go after them, let's do it. So what does he do? He ends up in a chase with a villain named Sir Satan. Cool name. And then he runs his car off the road, literally runs it off the road. Then there he was in terrible shape in the burning car, and Jay, furthermore wanting to take on the superhero responsibilities, decides not to help, but to rather just look cool. Like, at least collect his teeth off the dashboard first, you know? Fix his hair, maybe ask him if he needs a band-aid or two. I get it though. If I took down a supervillain, I'd probably talk some shit. I'd do monologues. I would do like Shakespeare monologues while he's burning in his car. And number 5, Prison Break. We go now to the Flash 164 from 1987, and the cover of the page shows Flash being put in the slammer. Ooh, the Flash is stuck in this mirror dimension where he doesn't exist. So there's a lot of questions floating around for the Flash. Now, instead of using his super speed to exit the station and figure out a game plan, he super kicks everybody's ass. I mean, this world thinks that all superheroes are evil. Way to prove their points right off the bat. The Flash even says, I gotta keep my cool. No matter where I am, I'm not gonna scrap with police. And then he immediately hoofs one of them in the jaw, breaking the shield guard on his mask. Number 4, ignoring a call for help. Flash 89 in 1994 Volume 2, Wally West was involved in a civil lawsuit. The plaintiff, Allison Armitage, was injured so badly while Wally was out kicking ass that she ended up having to get her legs amputated. That's how bad this ended up. Now, as if that wasn't bad enough, she said Wally West ignored her when she cried out for help. That of course caused her injury. She wanted $20 million for the whole case. Allison's lawyer was none other than the villain Abracadabra. So Wally thinks that there's something fishy going on, and the Barry Allen Foundation made an agreement that Wally can't use the Flash outfit or persona. Quite the punishment if you ask me, jeez. You're grounded, bucko. But don't worry, him and Allison come to an agreement in the next issue, but regaining the ability to walk was not included in said agreement. Now the best part of this issue has to be the court scene. The Flash goes nuts. He's asked if he did everything he could, and he's like, I'm fast as lightning. And they're like, yes, but did you do what you could? And he's like, I'm super fast though. I don't know. And number 3, killed Reverse Flash. Flash issue 324, we have the Trial of the Flash storyline. And the cover of the issue is enough to make you want to pick it up and take a peek. We find Barry as he sets for holy matrimony with Fiona Webb. Now, leading up to what's supposed to be the happiest day of your life, Reverse Flash starts leaving creepy messages for Barry. One message literally spells out in big letters, guess who's gonna kill your wife again? With a question mark that looks like a 2. Maybe he's going too fast, couldn't do it. Yeah, Reverse Flash had done that previously, but this time, he doesn't just punch him in the head a few times and talk smack. No, this time he changes it up a bit and breaks his neck. And afterwards, Barry was arrested. The police officer comes in and literally says, oh, I don't like the angle of that neck. He's like, hey, I've seen some necks in my time, rookie. That's a bent neck. I sleep on this neck quite funny, so whenever I see bent necks, I'm always like, ooh, I feel like the bent neck lady. Now, of course, it was an accident, but it still happened, and it's still pretty violent, so you gotta include it. And number 2, immobile inertia. So at the start of this video, I mentioned the name Bart Allen. Bart is the grandson of Barry Allen. Now, at this time, there's nobody like Barry or Wally to take the mantle of the Flash. He skipped the whole teenage years thing and went right to being an adult. Speedsters are wild, thus becoming the Flash for a small amount of time. Because the evil speedster Inertia, aka Thaddeus Thawne, killed Bart Allen. This evil clone of Bart Allen is responsible for him being gunned down. So when Wally West returned, he was pretty angry. But instead of killing him, he freezes Inertia, making him this sentient statue, and added to the Flash Museum, just blinking and breathing for eternity. Of course, staring at Bart Allen the whole time. Quite the punishment, I like it. I'm here for it, as the kids would say. And finally, number 1, Flashpoint. One of the biggest upcoming DC movies, and for good reason, the Flashpoint storyline, where the Flash tries to go back in time to save his mother from dying her tragic death. Not a bad idea at all. I'd probably try and do that too. This story was released in 2011, written by Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert, and starts with Barry waking up with no Flash powers. Interesting. In fact, the Flash doesn't even exist. Everything has changed. His mother, Nora, was still alive. Score! And his father, Henry, died 3 years prior. Not score. Yeah, in his own timeline, his father's actually alive. He's just in jail. There's no Justice League at this point, and Superman isn't even in the picture. The best part? And one plot point that we're most looking forward to is that Batman in this universe is actually Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father. So Bruce ended up dying that night instead of his parents. So this caused his mother Martha to go insane, and then she ended up becoming the Joker. And that's why during the opening credits of Batman vs Superman, we're all hyped in the audience because we see Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohen, 2 amazing actors in such a small opening scene with no dialogue. Interesting. Now, with recent news of Michael Keaton set to return in that storyline, Jeffrey Dean Morgan took to the internet and said, Michael Keaton swooped in and took my gig. Nah, I think that's super cool. Ever since Zack Snyder walked away, my whole kind of bit in that world has walked away with him. However, there's always a chat going on. God, I hope Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be the best dark Batman. Like, we've kind of been waiting for a long time. Just do it, just do it. So we shall see, fingers crossed. I think that movie's coming out June 2nd, 2022. For now, I mean, let's all wear masks. Maybe we'll see it sooner. Just an idea.
Number 10. threaten children with a gun. Okay, Selena was also just a kid herself here when this one happened, but that also makes it almost even worse. While thinking back to how her sister Maggie was tortured and driven insane by being fed pieces of her husband who was tortured and killed by Black Mask, she also thinks back to other times she had failed Maggie. One such instance occurred when Selena stole costumes for her and her sister. She lied to Maggie, telling her the shop owner had said that they could borrow them. What she also didn't tell Maggie was that she also had stolen a gun. The gun was real, and later in the night Selena used it to threaten some kids who were bullies and who were threatening a boy with a knife. Maggie was so upset when she found out her sister had stolen the costumes and the gun, and told Selena they should have asked a grown-up for help, as Selena could have killed someone if the gun went off. Selena dismissed her sister, saying she didn't care if she killed someone. That is cold, Selena. Also, you're just a kid! Number 9. Pickpocket. Selena started out as a thief at a young age. Depending on her origins, she was either forced into stealing for the woman who ran the orphanage she ended up in after her parents' death, or she escaped the orphanage she was mistreated in and turned to a life of theft in order to feed herself. In fact, originally it was because of her youthful attempt at pickpocketing that she ended up working and training with a carnival. And this is where Selena developed her nimbleness, sleight of hand, and gymnastics skills. While she had to pickpocket to survive, it's still not good to steal from people just because you can or you need to. And Selena started down this path of thievery from a very young age. And before we continue on to this next point, just a quick reminder to click that like if you haven't already. It really does help us out here at the channel. Number 8. Humiliated Azrael. During the Night Quest story, Azrael has stepped into the role of Batman, filling in for Bruce after his back was broken by Bane and he had to focus on healing. Jean-Paul Valley can't fool Catwoman though. She recognizes that there is someone else beneath the mask other than her sometimes beloved Bruce. She thwarts the law and escapes Azrael's clutches, shouting to the world as she gets away for all of Gotham and the GCPD to hear that this Batman is a fake. Ooh. That has gotta hurt the ego. Number 7. Making her mark. Back in her early days when Selena was still putting together her costume and learning how to fight, she incorporated claws into it. On one occasion she was inspired when seeing the damage her claws could do, to leave a mark on her victims. Her calling card for a time would then become clawing the face of her enemies. Those who opposed Catwoman and lived to tell about it as such would always be reminded of her by the scars her claws left on their face. Number 6. Hellhound. In issue 36 of the 90s Catwoman series, Catwoman refuses to kill her enemy Hellhound, but instead leaves him tied up in the desert, and all alone. She knows he'll likely escape and doesn't want to kill him. Actually, refusing him death is even worse for Hellhound, who has only ever wanted Catwoman to do just that, to kill him. Hellhound believes if Catwoman kills him, it will actually allow him to be reborn as a true Hound of Hell. Alas, she never gives him the satisfaction. Leaving someone tied up in the desert, too, without any sure means of escape is pretty cruel, even if they are a villain. And while this is one of the worst things Catwoman does in this issue, Bruce also commits his own crime by having that 90s ponytail. No one is without guilt in the 90s. There were just lots of terrible things that happened. Number 5. Killed Black Mask. But I mean, come on, he kinda deserved it, right? Still, in a world where Catwoman had been attempting to be a hero, this was a big one. This was around the time that Selena had a crisis of conscience after learning her decision to become a hero had actually not been her own, but had been implanted in her mind by Zatanna's magic. This caused Catwoman to return to the dark side once more and question her alignment and actions. When confronting Black Mask after he targeted Selena, focusing on making her life and the lives of her loved ones a living hell, she decided to call his bluff and shoot him point blank in the head, killing him. Roman had expected Catwoman to come after him, but he never thought that she'd kill him, considering she was more of the hero than villain type. Boy, did he pick the wrong time to press his luck. Number 4. Earth 2. While in certain continuities this can be considered a different version of Catwoman entirely, in her early days in the comics Catwoman was much more villainous and ruthless than the version of her we've come to know. This earlier version of the character would kill those who got in her way without much consideration for the severity of her actions. At one point she allowed an ambassador to be mauled to death by a leopard. This was during the time when she wore a cat mask to hide her true identity, which honestly was a look. It reminds me of the Cats live action film, which was something. It was an experience. Number 3. Became became a crime lord. For a while, Catwoman actually left her mantle of the cat, becoming someone new, though equally if not more villainous at times. In New 52, Selina was revealed to be the daughter of Rex the Lion Calabrese, who was revealed to be at one time one of Gotham's kingpins. Selina reached out for advice after initially rebuking his offer to take over his criminal empire, becoming a mob boss herself. While she was a mob boss, she often looked impeccably good in suits while committing some of the worst crimes, including constant thefts and kidnapping. However, at least Selina was originally drawn to become a crime boss for good reasons. She believed that Gotham needed a sense of order and sought to stop some of the overt gang violence by seizing control. Number 2. Making out with Nightwing. During a heist, no less. Also, Catwoman's depiction in this whole issue of Nightwing is something. It's very interesting. One of the most talked about shocking moments within issue 52 of Nightwing Volume 2 is when Nightwing and Catwoman have a makeout session, which obviously Selina instigates. This also happens in the same issue where she has a dream about being married to Batman. Ew, Selina, that's like making out with your adopted son. You just had a dream that you were married to Batman. What are you doing? Don't do that. Stop it. What's worse is at the end of this issue, it's all implied that this is all a part of a ploy of Catwoman's to make Batman jealous. I have no words. Number 1. Leaving Bruce at the altar. Finally, Tom King was going to deliver on a story that had felt like it had been coming our way forever. Batman and Catwoman were finally going to be married and tie the knot. They had told the Bat Kids, planned an opulent though intimate event, and the day had finally come. But while these two have always seemed to be fated to be together, Selina started to have some doubt, planted by her friend Holly Robinson. As a result, Selina ends up leaving Bruce at the altar, breaking his heart. In the end, it was revealed that this was actually all a part of Bane's ultimate plan to finally break Batman for good, and it was definitely a pretty effective attempt at starting off that process. Number 10 was a criminal. Yep, remember that time Lois accepted bribes to delay a story and used her bribes to buy fancy clothing, then got found out and was sent to prison pending her trial? No? Well, that's likely because although that all did happen, in the end it was revealed that it was all part of a plot that was arranged between Lois and Superman to nail some crooks. Lois pretended to accept the bribes, working alongside the authorities simply to get closer to the head honcho and help Superman and the police capture him. He was the one to help break her out of prison, hoping to intimidate Lois and recapture the evidence she supposedly had on him. Unfortunately for him, Superman crashed the party, following the escape vehicle to his hideout. The authorities arrested him and Lois got rewarded with a fur coat for her troubles. But still, she looked pretty guilty through a lot of it. You only find that out at the end, so if you read like 70% of that story, you're gonna be like, what is happening? Lois, stop accepting these bribes. Number 9. Won a Pulitzer. Lois has won many Pulitzers across multiple universes and alternate realities, and while this might not initially sound like such a dark thing to have happened, in the film Superman Returns we learn just what story won Lane her esteemed prize. The subject? How much the world doesn't actually need heroes like Superman. I love how against the original concept of the character this is, while also kind of coinciding with it. Lois originally was a woman obsessed with Superman to the extent of even focusing more on him at times than pursuing the best story. But in Superman Returns she is both fixated with Superman, but not in a lovey-dovey you must marry me type way, not with this story. The title of her piece that won her the prize was Why the World Doesn't Need Superman. Of course, by the end of the film, Lois has kind of changed her mind and writes a piece about why the world does need him. But her first piece still stands. Also, her first piece won the Pulitzer, and the second one, I don't know if she won a Pulitzer for that one. I think they were like, we don't like this one as much. Can you win multiple Pulitzer prizes anyways? Like once you've won one, can you still win more? I think you can. Number 8. Lied about her age. In one continuity, Lois was raised to be tough as nails by her military father, who had wanted sons but ended up with daughters, Lois and her younger sister Lucy. Already instilled with a hard-working ethic when she was just 15, Lois attempted to apply for a job at the Daily Planet, while her father was stationed in Metropolis, where her family was also temporarily living. She lied in an attempt to get hired, claiming to be 19. Lucy rats her out, but Lois ends up securing the job anyways, even though she is too young to be employed there. She's only 15, when she manages to sneak into Lex Luthor's building and steal some files. Also, the rest of that issue is super weird. When Lex catches her, it's weird. I think he spanks her. I think that's like her punishment. He's like, I'm gonna spank you, that'll teach you, young Lois Lane. And then he's like, I hope I meet her in 10 years. And I'm like, that's creepy, Lex. Don't stop that. Stop it. Number 7. Impersonated an actress. In the first issue of Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, Lois impersonated the world-famous French actress Lois Lane. She did so to get a big scoop on an ambassador who refused to meet with the press. Back in her early days, Lois was always pulling crazy stunts like this, but this time her act was so convincing and deemed so deceitful by Superman that when he found out about it, he intervened to get back at Lois. Of course, Superman was also kind of being a huge jerk in this issue, as he usually is in this comic, but yeah, both Lois and Superman are they're really always awful to one another at times in this series, as well as everyone around them. Also, Lois does a terrible French accent to impersonate LaFlamme, effectively mocking her while impersonating her. How rude. Like, she even acknowledges that it's a bad accent. She's like, I'm gonna do this terrible French accent to impersonate a real French person. That's so insulting. Number 6. Got between Robin and Batman. In an imaginary story, Lois Lane ends up dating Bruce Wayne, falling in love with him, and marrying him. Superman nor Clark Kent refuses to get in between them, as he feels that marrying Lois would actually put her in too much danger. So he's like, I guess I'll just let this happen, I guess I'm fine with it. Super not fine with it. Which is the same excuse actually that Superman feeds Lois for years in the comics, while she remains weirdly obsessed with him and marriage. She's like, marry me, and he's like, it'll be too dangerous, and she's like, okay, but you always say that. Give me a better excuse. No, he's only got one excuse. He doesn't want to marry you, Lois, get over it. This is obviously not the Lois we know today, who is a hard-hitting reporter and a more intellectual, career-focused woman. After Lois marries Bruce in the story, she finds out he's Batman, and subsequently, while she and Batman appear to be living happily ever after, isolates Batman's greatest ally, Robin. Her closeness with Bruce causes him to kind of give Robin the cold shoulder, and when the pair have their first child, it's also made apparent to Robin that Batman seeks to have his natural-born son become the heir to the Batman mantle, as opposed to his pal Robin. Harsh. Poor Robin. He's like, but I thought I was like your first son. Batman's like, you're not really my son though. You're just a kid that lives with me. Don't get too attached. Number 5. Poses as a man's dead wife. This story, in all, was pretty awful, but also Lois did help in a weird way. First of all, Lois is sent on a journalist job by Perry White to go undercover to get the scoop on a famous horror film star, Carlos Floyd, and his new wife, Edna Van Cleve III. Lois and Clark are both sent to pose as a maid and a butler, respectively, on Skull Island, where the new couple have just moved. Also, just all of these stories where they're like, we're just gonna pretend to be someone to like infiltrate and get a story because people don't want to talk to us. I'm like, this is bad journalism. Like, I don't think you're allowed to entrap people like this. However, Lois starts to suspect that Floyd may have killed his new bride while she is there, but is making it appear as though she is still healthy and alive for some reason. She dresses up as his dead bride in order to spook him and hopefully prompt him to confess his guilt. However, it turns out that Floyd actually isn't the guilty party. It was Sydney Willis, Edna's lawyer, who was to blame. In fact, Floyd had been making her appear alive in an attempt to catch the true culprit. So he was trying to actually do that with his whole thing. Fortunately, Lois also aids in this, and Willis is apprehended and confesses, but this was a pretty risky move on Lois's part. Like, she was just like, I'm pretty sure he did it, so I'm gonna traumatize this man. And I'm sure it was somewhat traumatizing for Floyd to see her impersonating his wife in the photo that he captured of her until all of this was revealed. And he found out that his wife, wasn't like a ghost trying to haunt him. Be disturbing. Number 4. Ruined a space rocket launch. This is a wow one. I can't believe this happened. As I said earlier, Lois always is so determined to get that scoop. She'll just do about anything. When it comes to reporting on a space rocket, that means faking a fainting spell in order to find a way inside it prior to the launch. No one was allowed inside the rocket, but when she fainted, apparently this was the only place she could be taken to rest. Would like to question if this makes any sense. I'm just imagining that one guy at the launch site just carrying her all the way up the elevator and the flights of stairs to put her in the rocket. Like, that's a long way up you have to go, my friend. Surely there's gotta be like a car or something nearby that they could have put her in. But no, apparently the rocket is the nearest place for her to be safe. Also, you shouldn't even be putting her in there. whatever, it's fine, it happened. Anyways, once inside, Lois basically stretches out, examining the interior and marveling over how successful and smart of a reporter she is for managing to get inside the restricted area of the inside of the rocket prior to launch. Now, she accidentally hits a little gadget, causing the rocket to fire up before its scheduled launch time, which is actually supposed to be in 2 days, so this is a really early launch. Superman once again uses Lois's mistake as an opportunity to teach her a lesson, which is also pretty awful once more. But Lois also probably cost that space exploration team tons of money. Like, space rocket launches are expensive, girl. What are you doing? Number 3. Tried to kill the Kents. In Blackest Night Superman, Lois Lane of Earth 2 was resurrected as a Black Lantern and was sent to kill the New Earth Kents. She wasn't successful, fortunately, and she wasn't the one pulling the strings behind this master plot, but this probably is one of the darkest things we've ever seen Lois do. In the end, she is one of the Lanterns to join up to take on the JSA. She ends up having to fight Power Girl, who to her was kind of like a daughter, so this is all pretty dark. Number 2. Earth 3. Everything the evil version of Lois Lane from Earth 3 does is pretty dark. The Earth 3 version of Lois is the villainous hero, Superwoman. She has had multiple affairs and thoroughly enjoys using her lasso of submission to enslave those who oppose her, and even those who don't oppose her. She just likes enslaving people with the lasso. At one point when she is pregnant, she tries to convince both her partners Ultraman and Owlman that they were the father, manipulating them in order to turn them against one another. In reality, the baby wasn't even either of theirs, but was actually from a relationship she had with Alexander Luthor, who was technically the crime syndicate, her League of Villainous Heroes, enemy. Basically, this version of Lois is all about manipulating others in order to satisfy her own selfish desires. Number 1 was racist. Yeah, this story was bad. It comes to us from the issue of Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane 106, which honestly feels like it should be older based on its tone, but it's actually from 1970 if you can believe it. So this story is only 50 years old, and yeah, it's not good. And it also is not aged well at all. Lois is attempting to win a Pulitzer and wants to write about the plights of those living in the Little Africa borough of Metropolis. However, Lois finds no one in Little Africa is willing to talk with her because she is white. So she comes up with a way of getting around that. She asks Superman to use his Kryptonian tech, the Plastimold, to temporarily change the color of her skin, turning her black for the day. Yeah, and it's worse than you think, trust me. One of the worst parts of the story is when Lois asks Superman if he would still marry her if she remained black. Superman does not answer the question but follows it up instead with another question about if she's really asking him that question, an alien, a universal outsider. Is this supposed to be Superman basically saying yes without actually saying it, or is he just trying to avoid the question? Either way, it's not a good look for you, Superman. Lois also responds by calling Superman the right color. Wow, just a million times yikes. Definitely the darkest timeline here. This is like such a bad story. Lois has definitely committed some very questionable acts with some very loose reasoning attached. It seems like she's come a long way in terms of her character evolution, from doing all kinds of crazy things in an attempt to capture Superman's heart or a good story, to becoming a more logical and methodical character when it comes to her plots, and also a more ethical character in my opinion.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Hush. Dr. Thomas Elliot was a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne's. Their upbringing, however, is just a touch different. See, Tommy tried to kill his parents so he could inherit their fortune, but unfortunately that didn't go as planned. But because Bruce's father, Thomas, was so great with his hands, surgically he was able to save them. So he of course became the masked villain, Hush. He spent his years working up ways to get revenge on Bruce Wayne, even getting help from, of course, Red Hood. Now of course he knows quite a bit about Bruce, so Red Hood's job was to mess with Bruce's head. That version of Red Hood ended up being seen as Clayface, because he wasn't ready to reveal himself to Batman just yet. So while the Riddler's mind was enhanced in the Lazarus Pit dip, he figured out who Batman was. But of course Jason Todd gave him confirmation. And before we go on to number 9, if you haven't already done so, make sure to hit that like button, because it helps us out here at the studio quite a bit. Now moving on to number 9, Joker Beatdown. See, usually when a main character dies in a comic book or a movie, the rest of the film just shows the other lead gearing up for revenge. In Jason Todd's case, death was not the avenging action to make. See, after the Joker had killed Jason Todd, Batman didn't kill the Joker. Now, of course his one rule holds him from doing that, but in this case, Is it warranted? Red Hood believes so. In fact, he ended up kidnapping the Joker and torturing him, even giving Batman an ultimatum. Kill Jason or let Jason kill the Joker. The beating itself is just beautifully awful. Number 8. Arkham Knight. Fans rejoiced when the 2015 Arkham Knight game was announced. We loved the series since Arkham Asylum back in 2009. Wow, 11 years ago. Get out of town. I feel sick. Are we all getting old? Are we just old now? Is that it? But when it comes to Arkham Knight, this was one of my favorite video games of all time. Not even just saying that. So of course I have to include it in this list. The villain in the game was of course the Arkham Knight, who was revealed to be Jason Todd. Now, instead of dying at the hands of Joker, he was being held hostage and driven insane, eventually becoming one of the hardest villains I've played in a superhero game. So he sports the new outfit and conflicts chaos for the 17-hour gameplay. That's around 45 hours for the 100%ers. I got to like 42 hours, I couldn't do it, it was too much. The Riddler trophies? Get out of town. Who has the time? If you haven't already played it through, there's a few alternate endings. So make sure if you do play, you really try and collect everything because those alternate endings are creme de la creme. Number 7, The Last Crusade. We go now to the 2016 Dark Knight Returns, The Last Crusade, written by Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello. So off the bat, readers see Candy Forsythe and Len Wright on Good Morning Gotham. They rejoice over the fact that the Joker has been taken into custody again, but this time they look at Robin as he's just a boy. They even use the words child endangerment when referring to him taking down the Joker. See, Jason Todd's methods are shown quite to be violent. After a chase with Joker's hitman, Batman disables their van. Stupid, ignorant amateurs, Batman says as he tries to drag them free of the flaming van. He could smell gasoline, so he encouraged Robin to hurry with taking them out of the non-reinforced van. Maybe his version of taking them out is a bit different. See, one of the punks pops his head out, but shortly after his head is stomped on by Jason. And the issue even highlighted how the punk's blood steamed and bubbled on the hood. Looks like a pretty red hood, if you ask me. The issue goes on to show how Batman feels responsible for the methods in which Robin takes down these bad guys. Batman even saying, "This is what I trained him to be, a ruthless killer." And this is when Jason decides to handle some Joker business on his own. Number 6, Philippe Garzona's death. In Batman issue 424, The Diplomat's Son, we see Robin take matters into his own hands. Ranked number 28 in Wizard magazine's list of 100 best single-issue comics since you were born, The Diplomat's Son has one of the darkest title page illustrations I've seen. So we see a not-so-smiley Robin pushing somebody off of a building. And judging by the size of the cars down below, it's not the kind of push we saw from the Dark Knight. Now, the victim was a not-so-great guy by any standards at all, the victim being Philippe Garzona. See, after avoiding a sexual assault and battery charge, a lot of readers actually enjoyed Philippe's fate, considering how bad this guy is. After Philippe fell to his death from his penthouse suite, Batman swoops in and asks the pressing questions. Did he fall, or was he pushed? And Robin simply replied with, I guess I spooked him. He slipped. And Batman is left standing there thinking about what had just taken place and why. And number 5, Earth 51's Joker. Now, halfway through this list, we're thinking maybe he's a bit of a troubled soul. Well, in the Final Crisis event, we see one of the craziest things ever. On Earth 51, that is. Jason Todd was sent to find Ray Palmer across the multiverse, and during his travels, he met the Batman from that Earth 51, who at this point was a bit different than our classic Caped Crusader. See, Earth 51's Batman was this badass murderer after Jason Todd's death. So after he was given a fancy new red suit, that Batman was murdered by the Joker and other multiverse characters. So our Jason Todd decided to kill Joker by using a rock to his head. Holy sh**. I mean, in all fairness, he was laughing at that Batman's dead body, so kind of warranted? I don't know. It's a rock. Number 4, Jason and Grayson. Following Infinite Crisis, DC released a comic in 2006 titled 1 Year Later, which, as you would guess, shows where our heroes and villains are exactly a year afterwards. So Dick Grayson moves to New York, and then he sees that Nightwing is there. And he's taking care of criminals. Like taking care of them, you know? With a little side of death in there, just sprinkled in, you know, just some punches and some death. The suited up Dick Grayson is then approached by the fake Nightwing, who turns out to be none other than our Red Hood, Jason Todd. So of course they scrap it out, and Dick Grayson is knocked off a building, with Jason Todd of course preaching how much more the city of New York liked his take on the Nightwing mantle. The pair end up fighting again for the second time, and Jason Todd wins again. The two ends up teaming together, but seeing Red Hood steal Nightwing's mantle and kick some serious ass, that's one for the books. Number 3, he stole some tires. Jason Todd was given a darker origin after the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline. This time we see him introduced to Batman as a criminal, which does make a lot of sense considering the horror stories I just told you about. So Batman catches him while he was stealing tires. Doesn't sound too bad. I mean, now's the time for winter tires to be put on anyways. No, these tires belong to the Batmobile. Yikes. So Batman wasn't too upset. In fact, he was kind of impressed. See, the Batmobile isn't an easy target. I mean, there are security systems in place to avoid a situation like being left with no tires at the beginning of a mission, which would be hilarious. This got the attention of Batman, unfortunately. Who knows, if Batman didn't catch him, maybe he would have turned out differently. Maybe he would have had a different upbringing. Just like as a petty thief rather than, you know, Red Hood. That would be a great alternate issue though. Batman's like, I'm on my way, and then he just sees this car with no tires. He's like, okay, I'll be there in like 42 minutes. Damn it! Number 2, Robin vs. Robin. Imagine getting dumped and your significant other dates somebody that's just like you but better in all the right ways. Isn't that brutal? And to make matters worse, imagine if you saw them and they were wearing your clothes. Like, what if this dude had on your hoodie? That's crazy. The disrespect. So after Jason Todd's return, he of course was not a fan of the new Robin, Tim Drake. And to show who the real Robin is, Jason decides to beat the hell out of Tim Drake. He even took down the other Titans in the process. Even though Tim may be the better detective and better trained than Jason, anger really is something else. And finally at number 1, the Poison Prison Blues. So while Tim Drake held the mantle of the Caped Crusader, Jason Todd was being held in Arkham Asylum. In Batman's words, it was for his own protection. So after explaining to Batman that he had passed all the tests numerous times, the psychological tests, he was transferred to a regular prison in Gotham. Now at this point, there's tons of criminals that want a piece of Jason Todd. Jason decides he's had enough of the incoming threats and poisons the cafeteria, killing 82 and sickening about 100 more. That's one way to take out all of your haters. Jeez, it kind of reminds me of that scene from Watchmen with Rorschach. Number 10, Death of the Family. Written by Scott Snyder, released in 2013, we see the Joker make his return to Gotham City after having his face sliced off. Yeah, the doll maker gave him a facelift of a lifetime, literally, while he was in Arkham Asylum, but it was all part of a plan. Insert link, 25 seconds to 29, all part of the plan. So he busted out, steals his face back from the police, after of course killing several of them, threatens to murder the mayor, kills John Claridge, kidnaps Alfred, all while wearing the horrible reattached baloney Joker face, and then he ends up kidnapping all of the Bat family members. Ooh, so he makes Batman sit at this table with all of them, as it's revealed what's truly for dinner. They open it up and it's their own faces. Yeah, everybody had bags over their heads and then underneath they were wrapped in bloody bandages and then their faces were right there. It's a really horrible scene, but fear not, as this was only another cruel joke. Therapy not included. Wow. And before we continue on to number 9, guys, if you could go ahead and give this video a super thumbs up, that would be great because it goes a long way for us over here. You're the best, thank you so much. If enough of you like this, they'll let me go home for the holidays. Okay, back to some Joker craziness. Number 9, Batman Endgame. Written by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo in 2014, Batman Endgame is not a time heist. No. It is a 6-issue miniseries where the Joker releases an airborne virus so that every citizen in Gotham turns into these mini Joker maniacs, running around, flipping cars, lighting shit on fire. But no tiki torches though, no tiki torches. I mean, they're not that bad, right? Yeah, you white people. Classic evil riot stuff, you know? Now that already sounds bad enough to make the list, but it gets worse. So the Joker also uses this virus to make the Justice League members try and kill Batman. Yeah, making your friends turn against you. That's the worst. So Batman had to use everything he has to fight off his powerful co-workers. And what I love about the Joker, slash what terrifies me the most about the Joker, is how he uses Batman's true identity against him. It's amazing that no matter how many times he does something like this, the stakes are always so high, and it makes you not want to stop reading. And it's resolved with both Batman and Joker having their memories wiped, but those images of Gotham citizens with those horrid smiles drawn across their face, that lives in your head rent-free. Number 8, Joker kills Randall. Okay, I gotta include this one. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix scooped an Oscar for his performance in the 2019 Joker movie, written and directed by comedic all-star Todd Phillips. So we have to talk about some of the crazy key scenes, specifically the way he kills Randall. Spoilers. So we have Arthur Fleck in his apartment. He's getting warm, he's getting his face ready before his big TV gig on the Franklin Murray Show later that night. And then he's joined by his former colleagues, Randall and Gary. So they question his face paint, obviously, by asking if he got a new job or maybe he's planning to go to the rally. And Arthur says, no, his mom died, so he's celebrating. I mean, that's one way of mourning, okay. So Randall asks a few questions about these recent crimes, so Arthur keeps the conversation going a little bit, stalling as he pulls out a knife. And then out of nowhere, he stabs and kills Randall. And the fact that Gary was there like the whole time made us believe nothing bad is gonna happen because Arthur likes Gary. Who doesn't like Gary? He's terrified of what he just saw. He asks Arthur immediately why he just did that. Do you watch the Murray Franklin Show? He responds, yeah, I'm gonna be on it tonight. This scene is just so chilling because he assures Gary so well that he can go free. He even pretends to like lunge at him as he walks by as like a joke. That's how comfortable he is around him. Dude's nuts. Number 7, torturing Tim Drake. I'll begin with how I peeled back the layers of the boy's mind. Joker says in the Batman Beyond Return of the Joker animated film created by Tim and Paul Dini. We see the Joker and Harley kidnap Robin. How did this happen? Well, Tim Drake was out one night patrolling the streets by himself, just getting it done, and then all of a sudden he has to save a lady from 2 thugs. No problem, 2 thugs? Easy. Turns out this was all a setup, classic Joker, and it worked. The Joker trapped him and took him to Arkham Asylum where he used shock therapy and serums, anything to break him down. He straight up tortured him for like weeks at a time. He was brainwashed until he eventually gave up all these secrets about Batman. And they end up turning him into a mini Joker, giving him the appropriate name of Joker Jr., little JJ.
Lost, Batman.
Number 6, Joker kills the audience. This moment also mirrors what happened in the finale of the Todd Phillips Joker movie, so I gotta bring it up. It's like 2 birds, 1 stone, bam bam. So in Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 2, Joker is invited on a talk show to get some insight behind his madness, which is always a great idea. Let's bring those people around. Ellen, like, hey, check under your seats, it's a knife. No. So stupid. After being asked by the host why he kills people, Joker explains how he's going to kill everybody in the room. And cue the panic laughs. What did he say? So Joker begins to explain that he thinks he's Batman's psychotic obsession. And then after asking about the lovely mugs that guests get to drink from on the show, the Joker then breaks the mug and then stabs Dr. Bartholomew in the neck, who was aiding Joker for this interview. Yeah, not so cured after all, I guess. And then if that wasn't bad enough, he then murdered the entire audience with a poisonous gas.
Adam is a patient.
Do guests get to keep these?
Sure, you do whatever you want with it. We got a closet full of them.
So similar in nature, yet I feel like this is worse. I don't know, like everyone else dying and getting poisoned, it's crazy. I also feel like Joaquin Phoenix is more awkward on a talk show than the Joker. I mean, watch any interview with him and you'll be like, no, for sure, definitely. Number 5, Emperor Joker. So this is a form of the Joker that is bigger and badder than ever. And it comes from Superman Emperor Joker back in 2000. And it was a 9-issue crossover event that shows what happens when the Joker steals the powers of Mr. Mxyzptlk, which is spelled so differently. I had to like write it in like, you know, a dictionary where it like breaks it down. Mr. Mxyzptlk. Yeah, he was supposed to get only 1% of his reality warping power, but he ended up tricking him into giving the Joker 99.9% power. Oops! So what happens when an imp from a 5th dimension accidentally makes Gotham's worst a god? Well, he eats China. That's a body count that's over 1 billion right there. I mean, the Joker transformed reality into this horrible version that better suited himself, where everybody's stuck in an awful loop. He kills Lex Luthor over and over again, and of course he makes Batman suffer death daily. Number 4, Harley Quinn. Making her first appearance in Batman Adventures issue 12, Harleen Quinzel, Adele Dazeem, Most commonly seen as the Joker's love life and twisted partner in crime, started off as an intern psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum. And then in the 1994 graphic novel, The Batman Adventures Mad Love, I don't know why I did that, Mad Love, we see Harleen's origin play out. So Dr. Harleen Frances Quinzel started to fall in love with the Madman as the days went by, because of course. It's an amazing graphic novel. It actually won the Eisner and Harvey Awards for Best Single Issue Comic of the Year. So if you haven't read it, check it out, it's great. She becomes intrigued with how the Joker's mind works, so she volunteers to help treat him. Now, after helping him escape numerous times, it's no surprise she became his sidekick, donning a jester suit of her own. And I like where they're going with Birds of Prey, giving her more of the spotlight rather than just this crazy sidekick to the Joker. And also, if I see any more of Jared Leto's Joker, I'm gonna bleach my eyes. That damaged tattoo on his forehead almost got the next spot on this list, I swear. Number 3, Barbara Gordon. This next one hurts me to talk about. Here we go. So The Killing Joke was brought to us by Alan Moore back in 1988, and since its debut, it's referred to as one of the best graphic novels ever published. Fair. So we have this background story for the Joker unfold as he torments the Gordon family, and then it comes down to a few knocks on the door that changes Barbara's life forever. So she thinks that it's Colleen arriving early, and then she goes over slowly, and then does that thing in horror movies, you know, where they open the door mid-conversation, not aware, and then they turn last second, and then bam! This happens.
Yeah, well, I had some really interesting nightmares.
The animated movie didn't get the same raving reviews as the novel, and most reviewers agree that the movie built up all this backstory for Barbara just to be a plot device for Bruce's story. Yeah, she gets sacrificed in order for Batman to grow. Like, nobody was ever doubting the Joker would do something like this. I mean, guy eats China. So fans almost write the first 30 minutes off of what's otherwise a pretty solid time with the likes of Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill voicing this adaptation. Number 2, Beat Jason Todd. A Death in the Family, not to be confused with A Death of the Family, is a 4-part storyline written by Jim Starlin and published in 1988. Now, this was a huge moment in the Bat story because we see the Joker beat the second coming of Robin, Jason Todd, like to death. This actually came to life thanks to the producers allowing the readers to decide what happens next to the Boy Wonder. And they chose death. He beat him with a crowbar and then a bomb ended it all. Like the Joker used Jason's mother, he blackmailed her and then used her to get to Jason and then killed her off too. So dark. What's even crazier about this whole thing is that it was up to the fans to decide his fate. There was a 36-hour period from September 16th to 17th in 1988, and there was a number you could call in and vote if you wanted the Joker to kill Robin or not. That's like the weirdest reality show ever. Like dialing one number meant death, dialing the other meant survival. And it got really close too. It was almost like 50-50. God, I wish callers had to talk to somebody instead of just calling a number. That would be amazing. Yeah, hi. You know what? Death. I think, oh wait, no, death, for sure death. Thanks, awesome, sick, cheers. So one caller actually admitted to dialing the number numerous times just to put the nail in the coffin for the Boy Wonder. Yep, it worked. Hope you're happy. Hope you're 90 years old and also happy. And finally, number 1, killed Jim Gordon's wife. Yes, this next one takes place during the holidays, so how fitting and joyous. Making her first appearance in Batman 405, the Year 1 storyline, we find Sarah Essen, Lieutenant Gordon's partner. So after Gordon's divorce, the two of them started to date and eventually they got married. Classic detective stuff. This all sounds lovely so far, but then in Detective Comics 741, we find the Joker after he's kidnapped like dozens of babies. Like I'm talking, this guy kidnapped a bunch of babies and then decided to hide them right in the basement of the Gotham police station, which in my opinion is the worst place to hide anything ever. End of story. So Sarah hears over the radio, Joker has the babies at Central, and she's like, what the f? And then she gets out of there, and then we see him in there talking to one of these babies while he's holding it, saying sweet things, you know, like how life is the biggest joke of all. Sweet things like that. So Sarah makes a loud entrance, tells the Joker to freeze, and Joker tosses the baby at her, like hot potato. He tosses an infant. And then Sarah catches the baby, thank God, but then Joker wishes her a Merry Christmas and delivers, bow, a fatal bullet. But the baby's okay, but Sarah, Not okay. Kicking off the list at number 10, Diana gets ahead of the game. One of the changes to reality that occurs during the Flashpoint event is when Wonder Woman and Aquaman get married. I mean, it's great. I mean, well, not really. I mean, weddings are fun, I guess. I don't know. I hear shout and then I black out. It's so weird how that works. So this is the reality now where Bruce Wayne was shot and not his parents. And if that wasn't wild enough, Superman is now in a government lab having a not so relaxing time. And then we see Diana being saved by a sea monster from Aquaman. How lovely. A nice thing. This is great. We have nice things in this list already. Lovely. Ah, yes. Classic Wonder Woman. Nice. Nothing like getting cheated on and then having your head cut off. Adding injury to insult this time. And then she pops her crown off of her severed head and then places it nicely on her own head. A war, of course, follows between the Atlanteans and the Amazons, but it comes to a lovely conclusion when Wonder Woman stabs Aquaman in the back. And yes, I mean literally in a sense. And before we go on to number 9, guys, if you want to go ahead and give this video a like, that would be great. You're the best. Thank you so much for watching. Let's pop right back into number 9 right off the bat. Let's keep going. Number 9, hard feelings. This next one isn't exactly a bad deed, but it's too weird of a Justice League story to not include, so I'm gonna throw it in at number 9. One I'd rather not have in my brain all day, so let's just get it out of the way. So now we go to World's Finest Comics issue 289. So Batman and Superman decide to catch up on some bro time, you know, take a break from beating up bad guys, just have a heart-to-heart, see what's going on in here. Now this heart-to-heart is the start of a wild adventure. Now the issue is titled The Krill Way of Dying, and the dialogue itself is really good stuff actually. It highlights the mental health struggles that superheroes go through, you know, not being able to save everybody. It's meaningful, it's powerful dialogue, but what takes this issue to new heights, well rather new lows, is when Superman and Batman are interrupted by a meteorite crashing, and out of the meteorite emerges the crew. Now the crew, not what you imagine in your head off the bat. I can tell you that because the crew, they're a bunch of space worms and they're attracted to sadness. That's how they found the two, because they were talking about super sad stuff and they're like, yes, sad, this way, let's go, let's head it. Their super depression was literally glowing. So these aliens need emotion in order to pass away. See what happens when you try and feel nice things, Justice League? Way to go, now we're all crying. I'm definitely crying. They're crying, they're dead. Space worms are coming for me because I'm crying now. What a vicious circle. Number 8, Lockdown Beatdown. Kingdom Come is a 4-issue miniseries that comes from Mark Waid and Alex Ross. It's an Elseworlds imprint. Now, in this alternate reality, 20 years into the future, our heroes have gotten a little older, so they settled into the retirement life. Now, these new anti-heroes stepped up, and new vigilantes, of course, soon followed. Some of them were children of the previous superheroes, so it goes kind of deep. See, Parasite breaks open a hero named Captain Atom, and you already know by his name how that's going to turn out if something like that were to explode. Boom! There goes Kansas, gone. No, literally, Kansas was gone. It was now just this wasteland. So this is when the Justice League comes in to save the day, or I guess turn the wasteland into a super prison too. That as well. So when you throw supervillains and superheroes into this alien tech super prison, there's gonna be a few fistfights, that's for sure. Number 7, Tower of Babel. JLA Tower of Babel is a Justice League storyline, and one of the best storylines in my humble opinion. Written by Mark Waid and illustrations by Howard Porter, Batman is the greatest detective alive. Odds are, if you're ever in a room with Batman, he's already thought out your every move and he's planned his accordingly. He's always 2 steps ahead. That's what makes him the best. He also just happens to be the sole reason that everything goes in this storyline. He doesn't mean to, but it happens. So Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins launched this huge simultaneous attack on every member of the Justice League of America. Now the attacks are so specific, they're aware of the weakness of each League member. Now Batman was once worried that one or all of them could go rogue at any point, so he had contingency plans in order to take them out if that day ever came. So Talia al Ghul broke into the Batcave and stole those files. So if you want to take down some bad guys, here's exactly how to do it. Thanks, Batman. The best files ever. Now we have all the deepest, darkest secrets. Cool. So Plastic Man gets frozen and then shattered. A specifically designed Vibra bullet hits the Flash in the neck and causes him to have seizures at light speed, which sounds like an absolute nightmare. And Superman gets exposed to red kryptonite, and sadly, many more get hit too. Number 6, Batman ignores Blue Beetle. So back in Countdown to Infinite Crisis, Blue Beetle had actually approached his super friends and teammates after he had discovered something called the OMAC Project. So he brought it to Batman's attention, but Bruce just doesn't really give a damn at this point. He brushes him off almost immediately. Well, the OMAC Project of course turned out to be something, and when Blue Beetle discovered it, he's all by himself and he doesn't live to tell the tale. If only Batman just took him seriously in this moment, things would have turned out a lot less ugly for him. I mean, I know Batman created this thing in the first place, so it's kind of fair that he didn't listen to him. But like before Infinite Crisis, the OMACs killed a lot of people. Shouldn't have just given him like 2 minutes to maybe explain. And the fact that Batman didn't just listen to his team member, especially when he already knew something was kind of going on, sounds like it's all on you, Batman. I don't want to be the guy to say it, but I was just the guy to say it. Number 5, Wonder Woman hunts the Huntress. The Injustice universe shows us a different side to our team members, sometimes a little darker than we're ready for. So in issue 21 of Injustice Gods Among Us Year 3, we find our main supers in a world that's not so bright. And when it comes to issue 21 of Injustice Year 3, DC shows us yet again how great Wonder Woman is at cracking that lasso of truth. It's just a matter of where she cracked it, that was the problem. Well, she wraps it around the neck of the Huntress, and the crack that we hear is exactly what you think. Bam. So Batgirl calls her out for being a murderer, even though she really didn't mean to do it. Accidents happen, especially in the middle of a battle, you know, it happens. I mean, the tension was high. The Huntress was punching through shields. Wonder Woman just reacted in a violent way. It happens, you're a superhero. I remember one time I wrist shot an orange hockey ball through a garage door thing. It's like, you know what? When you're in the middle of it, accidents happen, you get crazy. Number 4, get a room. Look guys, superheroes have emotions just like us, okay? They meet other superheroes and they take down bad guys together. They hook up in the sky in the owl ship above the rest of the world. They're just like us, okay? Sometimes key intimate moments are hard to conceal when you have the powers of a god, right? Specifically Wonder Woman and Superman. So after the triumph that is The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller decided to dive into an intimate moment with those two. So Wonder Woman and Superman embrace in each other, but where does this happen? In a fancy hotel? Fortress of Solitude? No and no. They get it on up there in the sky, of course, where everyone can see and hear. So they're superheroes, so this caused massive tidal waves. Volcanoes are blasting off, people are even evacuating islands. Like, this is a bad day. I mean, bad day for everybody but Superman and Wonder Woman. They look like they had a great time. Number 3, Superman moves Atlantis. Injustice Gods Among Us issue 12 is the final issue of the first Injustice comic series written by Tom Taylor, and we see Aquaman just unleash the ultimate pain. He's not having an easy go at this time. He's unleashing armies on coastal cities. He's trying to show Superman that he has the power as well, and that he's not going to allow Atlantis to be taken over. So Superman is like, okay, you think you're the tough dude? No problem. Let me step in. Superman sees this as a threat, and even Batman's like, great, this is exactly what I thought was gonna happen between these two. So Superman doesn't just fly in, fight Aquaman one-on-one, and then settle their differences with this whole ordeal. No, instead Arthur gets the help of Wonder Woman and Green Lantern, and they literally move Atlantis. They move Atlantis like it's new furniture.
Pivot! Pivot!
They move it to the Sahara Desert, the place with the least amount of water possible. Not cool, guys, not cool. Number 2, Superman outs Batman. So in the climax of Batman vs Superman, we see Bruce Wayne straight up try and take out the Man of Steel. It's intense, and it ends with Superman not surviving in a way, but until he comes back in the Justice League movie. Spoilers. So if you're feeling a little upset about that, this next one should turn the tables in your mind. Superman once outed Batman, and he did it in a pretty hilarious way. Through social media, of course, of course. Did he make a TikTok? No. Was it through Ask FM? No and no. It was in the pages of Injustice Gods Among Us issue 10. I mentioned this comic earlier because it has our super friends going against each other, but Superman takes it up to the next level when he posts Batman's true identity online. His tweet was quite simple and to the point. Batman is Bruce Wayne. 1.5 million retweets, not too shabby at all. Batman's trending on Twitter in real life almost like once a week, so I'm just waiting for the day when I look and I'm like, yes, Batman is real. And he's Paul Giamatti, get out of here. I knew it. I knew it. Number 1, Justice Lords. The dceu introduced us to the Justice Lords back in November 2003 in an episode titled A Better World. Was it a better world? No, definitely not. They were a multiversal counterpart of the Justice League. This is an alternate universe now, one where Lex Luthor is the current president of the United States. The Justice Lords were assembled to protect humanity from itself, which just sounds like bad news. That sounds like a bad story in the making. So yeah, they were robot replicas of Superman, and the inmates of Arkham Asylum were brainwashed and lobotomized. Just not an ideal world at all, definitely not a better one. And then when the Justice Lords of this universe found out they weren't alone, they tried to bring their ways of heroics over to our world. But our good Justice League took them down with the help of our Lex Luthor, who used the power disruptor to neutralize their super abilities. So it's like good Lex, bad Lex, good team, bad team. mind explosion.
Number 10, Death of Dee Dee. In the Future State glimpse into Gotham City Sirens, we are introduced to a new member of the team in issue number 1 of the next Batman. For those who are unaware, actually, there are a slew of amazing extra stories that come in this comic, and pretty much all of them are good. While I would say that Gotham City Sirens is maybe the weakest of these, it's still a really good story, so that's not even like an insult to it. But there is a very tragic and heart-wrenching moment that might also infuriate you in this story. The newest member of the team is Dee Dee, an AI droid who was made in the future by a very shady businessman. Exposing Dee Dee's creator for his problematic practices could topple the magistrate's reign, so Catwoman and Poison Ivy bring her into the fold and team up with the AI, and they have like an awesome girls' night out, which is the whole plot, but anyways. However, after we get to know and love Dee Dee on this girls' night out, it's revealed that she is not destined to stay with the group, and in the end, she sacrifices herself to help Gotham and her new friends. Hopefully, if we get some future Gotham City Sirens stories, DC can somehow find a way to feature Dee Dee in those stories, like working alongside the team again. Or maybe if we go past this future, they'll be able to bring her back with her memory. Otherwise, I feel like I was duped into loving a neat new character who I'll just never see again. I hate that. I hate when people are like, look at this cool new character, and you're like, oh, is this gonna be, oh no, they're dead. Okay, never mind. Cool. Number 9, Bat Cat reunited? How could this be a worse thing? I know you're thinking. Wouldn't that be good, Amanda? Well, because these two, it seems, were only brought back together to be ripped asunder once more. How tragic. My heart. Catwoman tells a story of Selina trying to pull off a train heist where she is looking to free the magistrate's captured criminals. In issue 1, while she found Automatopoeia, it was revealed that Talia al Ghul, also on the train, found Bruce Wayne. In issue number 2, Bruce manages to see that Selina is on the train via a monitor in security. Not only does he show up to help save the day, but then he and Selina also have a touching reunion. Always hair in my mouth. Honestly, if you're a fan of the Bat-Cat relationship, issue 2 of Catwoman is for you. You need to read it. There are a lot of great moments exploring what Bruce means to Selina. Despite being reunited, ultimately, Batman decides to split from Catwoman, knowing if they stay together, she'll forever be on the run and in danger. Even more so than usual, I guess. Can't you just be on the run together? Why you gotta split up? And friends, before we move on to this next spot, just a reminder, if you are enjoying DC Future State as much as us, or even if you're not enjoying it, give this video a thumbs up. We really love talking about it with you, and yeah, it also lets us know that you like when we talk about events and event adjacent things. Number 8, the question is... I hope you've clicked ahead if you didn't want this revealed, by the way, because I'm about to reveal who the question is. The question is... Dead Man? Wait, what? I don't think this is actually the worst of the worst things to happen, but I just felt that it was kind of random. I mean, maybe there were clues and I missed them in Shazam issue 1 to lead me to this revelation. And if you loved this reveal, feel free to let me know in the comments below if you disagree with me, because hey, I didn't hate it, I just didn't love it, and I would love to hear about why people love it. In Shazam issue number 2, we learn of the question's true identity after it's already been established previously in Shazam that the identity of the question is a complete mystery. Ooh, we don't know who it is, who will it be? Which is usually a good time. I personally think I like when the question is super mysterious and we actually don't know who it is. I don't need a reveal. In fact, I would have even been cool for this to not be revealed in Future State. The true identity of the question could then be kept a mystery and it could unfold in maybe a new question series. I don't know. But hey, that's just me. Number 7, Billy gives up his life. In Shazam issue number 1, we learn of what happened to Shazam following him leaving the Teen Titans. He appears to have somehow gotten out of the Rock of Eternity, but Raven is nowhere to be seen. So, what happened? Well, it turns out Shazam made a deal to get free and act as a hero on Earth while Billy took his place as guard in the Rock of Eternity, having the spirit that was needed to do so, because it's Billy Batson. What does this mean? Billy basically gave up his whole life to protect the world, acting as a guardian while Shazam lives on Earth as a hero in this place. Now, I put hero in quotes because, well, Shazam doesn't really end up acting so heroic without Billy there to kind of guide him. But that's a whole other story. I could do a whole separate point on that. Well, it's later revealed Billy doesn't end up stuck there forever. He was still there for who knows how long, and him even agreeing to act as guardian without Shazam, it turns out was an all-around really bad move. Who are better together, they're not so good if you separate them. Yikes. Number 6, Teen Titans Academy. So we've got some good news and we got some bad news here. The Teen Titans come together in this possible future to start their own academy to train young heroes and even recruit some of the other non-Titans DC heroes as faculty. Yay! And guess what? We will actually get to explore this future as a reality in the Teen Titans Academy comic series. Bad news? Oh yeah, the bad news. The academy gets blown apart and tons of their superhero students and staff die during its destruction. Yikes. That's how we set the scene for Future State Teen Titans issue number 1. One of the bleakest states of all the series to come about so far, in my opinion. One of being the keywords there. Number 5, Jace's missing backstory. This is something that has bothered me less as we've got to know Jace, aka Tim Fox, Luke's brother, aka Batman right now, but I also feel like it would have helped a lot of people get on board with our next Batman earlier on in his series if we had sort of found out more. Because Jace is a lesser known character who has a history that in this continuity is almost like unwritten. It's hard for us as readers to connect with who he is as a character. There are little details you can pick up about him as you read, like in Justice League when we learned that he likes to hum his own little soundtrack to himself while fighting, which I loved as a little tidbit, but you really need to dig or just be paying close attention to get those details. After all, that detail didn't even come from his own book, but from a team book that he is featured in, right? I just want to know more about what being Batman means to Jace, why it's important, and I would love some more hints as to how it kind of all came about. But now, the next Batman is done, so I guess hopefully we'll get more of it in another book and we'll get to see more of Jace's Batman, because I did like it. I was just like, give me some reasons that I can, get really connected to the character and like love who they are as a person outside of the persona. Number 4, Amanda Waller's plan. This is a big yikes for me, friends. In Future State Suicide Squad, we're introduced to a whole new squad that seems to be impersonating established heroes, or taking on the role of those mantles legitimately, but not necessarily of their own volition. This is simply because they are a part of Amanda Waller's new version of the Suicide Squad, the Justice Squad. Although a lot of them do actually want to redeem themselves and be good people. And then there is one exception, actually, Connor Kent, who seems to be super interested in embodying his role as Waller's Superman. We also find out that the squad are attempting to help Waller in some kind of mysterious mission that she is on. Considering her plan B is to bring back the crime syndicate using the Black Lantern ring, the mission Project Home Base is probably one of the worst ones she has come up with yet, because that's her plan B. To be like, oh, I'll just bring back the crime syndicate and make them do this. Regardless, our heroes, the Justice Squad, have no choice but to follow her lead, die trying or die refusing. Number 3, Wally becomes Famine. If you've been watching our coverage of DC Future State over here, you probably guessed we were going to go to this point. Why is Wally becoming one of the 4 horsemen one of the worst things, you might be wondering? Well, because it's the opposite of what Wally West fans want. People who love Wally West love him because he's just such a good guy. We love Wally for Wally, and the last big events featuring him prominently when he finally did return to us feel like they have been moving him further and further away from the person we all love. Future State was supposed to be a chance to challenge the status quo, and making Wally a villain again, albeit a very remorseful one on the inside from what I've seen, just isn't actually doing that for the character. You're not reinventing him. We've already done that. Personally, I feel like bringing back the whole West family somehow in Future State would be really cool, or just do something completely new with him. Villainous Wally has been done, and a lot of people were not feeling it when it did happen, and so they still aren't. Family Man Wally, that's what I want. Number 2, the timeline. One of the worst things to happen in Future State for most people is this wacky timeline we were thrown into. Nothing is happening in order, and it's kind of hard to tell where in the timeline of Future State you are when you're reading something. I personally find this to be like a kind of fun mystery. I like to piece it together myself, but for many other readers, they find it weird and confusing. And I get that. There is also the problem of the more Future State you read, the more you kind of get the big picture of what's going on in this reality. But if you want to try and understand that without reading everything, good luck to you, because you kind of got to read everything to get the bigger picture. For some, this makes the pseudo event more enjoyable, but for others, not so much. Fortunately, there are some resources out there online if you do need to know the order of everything, but the other worst thing to happen, or not happen really, with Future State is that we likely won't know what's being kept as continuity till after the event is done. That's the tricky part of glimpsing into possible futures. Some of them will also become impossible in our current continuity, depending on which path we go down, which also might muddy up the timeline in the long run. Number 1, Raven is free. If you've been following Future State, especially the Teen Titans stuff, you'll know how awful this is. For some context, we learn in Teen Titans Future State issue 2 that Raven ends up defeating the Four Horsemen, one of the biggest bads of the Future State timeline, it would seem, so far anyways. But we also learn that in order to do so, she had to take those entities within herself, meaning that she is now one of the most evil and dangerous beings on the planet. Fortunately, Shazam had a solution, and he ends up taking her to the Rock of Eternity and plans on basically staying there forever in his Shazam form to guard Raven. But, and yes, there's a big but coming, in issue 2 of Shazam, we discover that Necron managed to devise a plot to basically get Raven freed, which honestly means that one of the worst threats we've seen this whole event is now going to be coming to Earth. So everyone better watch out.
Kicking off the list at number 10. Killed Maxwell Lord. Okay, it's one thing to kill an enemy, but to do it in front of thousands of people? I mean, do you have to? Wonder Woman issue 219 showed us a side to Wonder Woman that unfortunately had to come out. This issue was awesome. She handled Lord Maxwell and she wasn't playing around. Now at the time, Superman was a little off, and by off I mean under control by Maxwell himself. So he was a threat, and the two of them going at it was already intense enough. Something you don't want to see. Like Diana is pulling out some boss moves. At one point she says that every single strength can be turned into a weakness. And when he stops speaking, that's when I know he's using his ears. God forgive me, followed by a mighty huh, and just rocks his eardrums. And then she tries to shake Maxwell down using the lasso of truth, demanding to set Superman free from his grasp. He says, "Kill me," and she responds not with words, but with actions instead. And even Superman's like, whoa. And before we head over to number 9, guys, we have a huge announcement. We have another channel coming back after 3 years of running the show here. Landon himself is coming back with Landon Productions, and his first video is set to premiere December 7th. It's coming up, so go turn on your notifications on that channel as well, because you don't want to miss it. I've seen and heard what he's working on, and it sounds like a great time.
Is the Canada Goose gonna take it on?
I'm on top like I'm goddamn Mario, right? I'm just
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, is this real life right now?
Number 9, super intimate. Guys, superheroes have emotions just like us, okay? They meet other supers, they fall in love, they have super babies, they have lives too, it's fair. Sometimes key intimate moments are hard to conceal when you have the power of a god. So after the triumph that is The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller decided to dive into a scene that we could have all gone without, involving her and Superman. So her and Superman get it on. In a fancy super hotel, maybe the Fortress of Solitude? No, God no. They get it on in the sky, you know, causing massive tidal waves, volcanoes are shooting off, they even moved the earth a bit. Man, even people are evacuating islands. Like, this is a bad day for everybody but Wonder Woman, of course. Next time you guys want to get it on for a 5-panel straight, I don't know, maybe Egypt. Some place with a lot of sand and openness. Don't be blasting rocks at innocents. It's not nice. Number 8, Wonder Woman causing volcanoes to explode. I mean, that's pretty epic, but what about that time she made Captain Atom explode? If you drop a can of soda on the ground, it's ready to blow. You don't want to touch it. The last thing you want to do is puncture that can, or else you're gonna be sticky. Then you're covered in bees. No one wants bees. In the Injustice storyline, we find Wonder Woman making a not so smart choice when it comes to handling Captain Atom. So he's about to rock Superman, right? And then Wonder Woman comes in and cuts his throat open with her sword. "Oh, you stupid," he says to Diana. "I have more power in me than 10 nuclear bombs, and you and your stupid magic sword have just breached the thing that contains it." But then he decides, this is my last opportunity anyway, screw it. Grabs Superman and then takes Superman out to get an up close and personal look at the light show. Nice. Number 7, Darkseid's powers. Sometimes you have a choice, and sometimes that choice is a lose-lose. These happen a lot in comic book movies, like Doctor Strange giving away the Time Stone to Thanos and then powering him up. It's a bad move, but it's better than the alternative still, because he saw the future, he knows. So in Wonder Woman's case, he was less of a problem this time around. So when Brainiac took control of Warworld in the Our Worlds at War storyline, specifically Wonder Woman issue 173, Wonder Woman gives away part of her soul in order to restore Darkseid's powers. Why the hell would she do that? To fight off the alien Imperiex? Yeah? Okay, I guess that's fine, that's fair. That's more than fair. I mean, after his powers are restored, they're able to stop Brainiac 13 and Imperiex. But you can't be juicing that guy up. I mean, of all people, not him. Number 6, ahead of the game. So one of the changes to reality that occurs during the Flashpoint event is when Wonder Woman and Aquaman get married. It's great. I mean, well, not really. Weddings are just fun, I guess, I don't know. I hear the song Shout and then I black out. It's so weird. This is the reality now where Bruce Wayne was killed and not his parents. So Superman is in a government lab having a not so relaxing time, and then we see Diana being saved by a sea monster from Aquaman. Ah, how lovely. A nice thing. Ah, yes. Classic Wonder Woman. Nothing like getting cheated on and then having your head cut off, adding injury to insult in this case. She then pops her crown off her severed head and then places it nicely on her own. And of course, a war follows between the Atlanteans and the Amazons, but comes to a lovely conclusion when Wonder Woman kills Aquaman by stabbing him in the back. Literally. Number 5, hung up on Trevor. Okay, so the Flashpoint paradox has a good chunk of not so pleasant moments. I mean, that's the whole point. Some things aren't meant to be changed, or else you risk opening the door to these nasty other realities. Like the one where Wonder Woman kills. A lot. So in the comics, we see Wonder Woman, rather Queen Diana at this point, send some Amazons to kill Steve Trevor, which alone, as I say that, just sounds terrible. But to make it even more list-worthy, the animated version is so much darker. Yikes. Okay, if we see this scene in the Flashpoint movie, I'll stand up and clap. I'll do it. I'll be like, yes, you guys, someone did it. Number 4, bat for a bat. Jealousy can turn people, sometimes for the best. Like if your ex starts dating somebody new and you're like, I'll show you by bettering myself physically and mentally. Haha, I showed you. Or sometimes jealousy can make you fight another superhero because you're too in love with Batman. Either one. In Batman Brave and the Bold, issue 78, we find Batgirl and Wonder Woman going at it, all for the love of Batman. I mean, it starts off kind of cute. Wonder Woman writes, I love Batman in the sky, hell yeah. And then this plane comes in and who could it be? Is that Batgirl? What is she? Oh, she's wiping with a lovely message, awesome. Oh, she's writing something of her own, what does it say? Only I love Batman, Batgirl, nice. So Wonder Woman's like, haha, okay, hold on a sec. Lasso's Batgirl, she's upset, I mean, fair. She just wiped away her message and she's like, no, I love him more. Impossible, she says, and then this is where Batgirl goes too far. She says back, nothing is impossible for you, you unhip chick. Wonder Woman ended up winning, but at what cost? Number 3, Hunted the Huntress. Now, when it comes to non-canon stories or alternate dark realities, sure, it doesn't really count as much. You can kind of put those away in your head and pretend like they don't exist. But these horrible actions are still done by our beloved heroes. It's hard to get over some of these happenings. It's kind of like when you have a dream your sibling is being mean to you, and then you wake up the next morning just angry at them for no reason. Like before school, they're like, good morning, and you're like, morning, whatever. Shut up. So on the topic of injustice, we find our main supers in a world that's not so bright. Issue 21 of Injustice Year 3 shows us just how great Wonder Woman is at cracking the whip, when she wraps the lasso of pain around the neck of Huntress. And then the crack we hear is, well, it's exactly what you think. Now, she didn't mean to kill her, but I also didn't mean to wrist shot an orange hockey ball at my neighbor's parked car when I was 13. Accident or not, you're still paying the price, Buster. Number 2, cut to the chase. With Wonder Woman 1984 getting the official go-ahead to release on HBO Max this holiday season, it's fair to look into some other run-ins with the two. One that's particularly notable, starting in Wonder Woman Volume 3, Issue 26, titled Rise of the Olympian. So we see her interrogation skills bump up a notch when she crossed paths with Cheetah. So she decides to threaten her, of course by demanding Cheetah to tell her the location of Etta Candy. Or else she'll cut her tail off. That's crazy. That's like the superhero version of a mob boss taking a finger. That's so thug. And number 1, she left humanity behind. With time jumps and time heists, superhero flicks can bring up a lot of questions during the downtime in between these films. Like for example, Cat going back in time to be with Peggy. Wonderful, so sweet, may have even brought a tear out of my eye, maybe 2 tears, or 70 tears. But then you think of all the things that still happened in real life and you're like, really? Like he was there the whole time? I feel like you could have done something for like, I don't know, one of those horrible events. Now of course, in doing so may just cause even worse things to happen, like we see with Barry Allen saving his mother, but then Wonder Woman hangs Steve Trevor, so it's like, This idea comes crawling back in now that we see Wonder Woman in modern day Justice League movies. She tells Bruce at the end of Dawn of Justice that men made a world where standing together is impossible, and left humanity for a century. I mean, again, I feel like you could have just stepped in, helped out with maybe, I don't know, World War II?